Hi everyone, thanks for joining us here on Drift Happens. As always, I'm Joey and joined by my wonderful co-host Arthur. Arthur, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. We are now into 2026, the lovely year that has started off so well. I'm sure many of you are looking at this from the future and saying, "Oh, those sweet summer children! If only they knew what was going to happen." But
Yeah, it turns out it only took 3 days for something interesting to happen this year. That's
yep,
nearly a record.
we will have no commentary on such things. But gotta love it. How are you doing, Joey?
Doing pretty good. I had to perform complete open heart surgery on my PC this weekend, so I was definitely nervous about making it to this recording. At some point, my computer just stopped booting and had the CPU light on, and I was nervous that I had cooked my CPU, and bad things were going to happen. So I was taking it apart. I was just going to check and make sure I had enough thermal paste on there, make sure all the cables are seated, and then I dropped the back plate off of my motherboard that holds the CPU cooler on, so that's inaccessible. So I had to actually take every single thing out of my computer. Unplugged everything, took the motherboard out, took all the cooling fans out, and then figured, I'm already halfway there. Let's just take the PSU out, double check the back of that too. So that was 3 hours of nerve-wracking nervousness. Just as I was putting it all back together, I'm like, well, I sure hope it works when I put it back together, because it didn't work when I took it apart.
Yeah.
But as you can tell, we are recording. It did work. Nothing's broken, and I even found an extra screw that I don't know where it came from. So I ended with more screws than I started with, so that's got to be good.
Yeah, that's good. That's what they always say with auto work, right? Is you're supposed to find extra parts when you're done.
Yeah, it's like, it comes with a spare.
All right. Well, we are drawing to a near end of our Packed Worlds Planet series, but as always, I do have a clue for you if you're ready for that.
Yeah, now you guys may think that since we're nearing the end, these would get easier, but we're nearing the end of just the planets in the Packed World, and then we're going to have some moons, and then we're going to have some stuff that's not even technically in the Packed World system, but is a Packed World. And I don't have the names of those listed in front of me, so I'm not going to get those.
And God forbid you guess the name of a planet we've already done. That would be a major faux pas.
Yeah, you guys would think that I'm not paying attention.
All right, here's your clue. I have seen the dark universe yawning, where the black planets roll without aim, where they roll in their horror unheeded, without knowledge or luster or name. That was written by H.P. Lovecraft in his poem Nemesis.
And the fact that he's using a Lovecraft quote as the clue means we're probably going to dive into some real spooky shit. But I'm going to say we're going to Aucturn, the furthest rock from the sun, as they say.
We are going to Aucturn. It is the geographically furthest out planet in the Packed Worlds. So I am going to send you some flavor text so we can start to get into what the hell this planet's about.
The sun is little more than a glimmer above Aucturn's poisonous skies. From a distance, the planet actively defies classification. Observers disagree on the planet's appearance and diameter, although its mass remains fairly constant. To remote scanners, Aucturn is sometimes a gas giant with striations of whirling crimson atmosphere, while at other times it is little more than a lifeless rock with a thin, clear membrane of air. This inconsistent appearance is a planetary scale phenomenon, caused by some unknown magical effect. Whether it is generated by Aucturn itself or precipitates the strangeness of the world is a hotly debated topic among occult scholars. When starships approach orbit, the unappealing truth of Aucturn is quickly revealed to them, a strangely organic but mostly inhospitable world sheathed in a poisonous, yellowish-green atmosphere. The planet swells and shrinks over time, its surface roiling and sliding along with oceans of inky muck. The cultists who inhabit Aucturn assert that their world is the waiting womb of a great old one, ready to burst open the solar system and usher in a terrible age of darkness.
Sounds like a lovely place, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like the kind of place that you wouldn't want to have Pact World status as a member.
It does not have status as a member of the Pact Worlds, but we are covering it because it is part of the system.
Ah, okay.
Here's a picture of what Aucturn looks like.
Oh, that's a great big ball of shit. Uh, it's very featureless and kind of pockmarked. It's like if the moon were piss yellow. That is what this planet would look like, and I have nothing else to say because I don't think there is anything else to say.
Nope, that's pretty much delicious little ball of expired cheese.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, it is hydrated. It's not like a 3-day bender with no water and you're just brown muck coming out. It is like a pale yellow.
Well, that was disgusting. The geography of Aucturn is inhospitable and constantly changing. The land is composed of rubbery soil and chalky stone, and only stunted, sickly vegetation grows here. The quote-unquote oceans of the planet are heaving masses of inky sludge. The atmosphere is composed of gases poisonous to most living things.
Yeah, from the picture I've been shown, you can't even really see any oceans unless that's just the slightly darker colors along some slightly paler colors.
Might be the little spots. I think it might be like the spots. Like if you look in the mid-lower right.
Oh.
Maybe like those guys.
I wouldn't define those as oceans at all. I'd say those are lakes. Well, I mean,
we'll
I guess
get into it. Aucturn's actually
Octurn's
actually a pretty big planet, so the sense of scale might be a little off.
Well, it depends on when you look at it, because apparently it shrinks and expands.
Yeah, just for fun.
One thing I can say straight off the bat is I don't think that there's any cities that you can see from orbit. Nothing like the sprawling lights that you would see on any of the more populated ones, at least.
There are a couple of settlements we'll talk about, but yeah, compared to, Verces, which is just giga metropolis, it's going to be very different. There are monstrous and vicious creatures inhabiting much of the surface of the planet, such as strange leviathans in the oceans, various horrors burrowing in the odd soil, and even psychic ghosts stalking the landscape. The most terrifying of the locals are the Orocorans, who are semi-intelligent predators with mosquito-like proboscises who slurp up the ichor springs of the planet, sending them into narcotic-like stupors after gorging themselves.
This already just sounds like the definition of, like, the Explorer team returned immediately from checking it out, and they're like, why'd you come back so early? He's like, moon's haunted. Grabs a 12-gauge shotgun.
Yep. Other than these horrifying native creatures, cultists of the outer gods, mostly humans and Yosoki, make their home here, protected by only the most minimum environmental systems in their suits and settlements. Aucturn itself is roughly twice the size of Lost Galarian, with about double the standard gravity as well. The length of a day varies wildly, and a planetary year is roughly 500 standard years. And as we've said, it is the furthest orbiting planet in the Pact World system.
It's interesting that, the time of day would vary wildly because that's based on the rotation of the planet, and apparently that is not a stable number.
Yeah. It's an intriguing place. But we're ready to get into places of interest here. I'm going to send you a picture of the second largest settlement on Aucturn, the city of Amniac. It's a circular settlement of just over 90,000 people.
Well, if I had to imagine what a cultist city would look like, I guess this is about it. It seems like just a singular, massive spire reaching into the atmosphere with a bunch of really pokey, spiny bits kind of surrounding its base. It matches the surrounding landscape well, where it's also just a lot of really pokey spires. But yeah, it's just a very large metal structure going straight up. I'm assuming that all of these metal pathways are also kind of covering where people would live.
Yeah, I think there's like all city under there and stuff, but there's all those weird pink, gross, some of which almost look like gemstones.
Definitely the vegetation is encroaching on this place, or maybe that's the only vegetation they have, so they want as much of it as they can have around them.
Yeah, maybe it's a cookable, shitty, poisonous plant.
Yeah, I will say the sense of scale from this picture is a bit weird because it looks like those are pedestrians just standing on these walkways, which doesn't seem like you'd be able to fit the other 89,998 people anywhere else in the city, but...
Well, I think maybe those are, like, on top of the city. Like, if this is, like, a lattice work of walkways, like, in the city is, like, everything underneath, maybe? Like, further down.
Yeah, that would make sense. In which case, this is like a city where they took a colony ship and just crashed it straight into the planet and said, all right, this is our city.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the vibe they're going for, because remember, the atmosphere is so fucked that you basically have to have an environmentally controlled settlement, kind of like on a past day, to even have a, surface settlement.
Yeah, I agree.
So, in this city of Amniac, the settlement is governed by 13 spellcasters, called the Midwives, who administer to a nearby odd geological feature, called the Gravid Mound, which we'll talk about more later. They seek to carefully shepherd the birth of a new god they believe stirs within the weird geological structure. The other citizens here pursue life not dissimilarly to any other large packed world spaceport, with a large trade market at the port, which is above a tall tower. So that tall tower at the very top, there's like a flat portion that's a spaceport. Residents do spend several hours each day in a ritualistic chant by the order of the Midwives. Visitors to the city are not required to join in, but this is strongly encouraged by many locals.
Yeah, I don't like the vibe that this place is giving off. It's run by a council of 13 witches, basically, who make everyone chant their occultist sayings several hours a day. Like,
yeah.
You'd think that 90,000 people chanting for 20 minutes ought to give them enough magic juice to whatever they're doing, but this is sketch.
Yeah, they even need the visitors to do it. So more about the Gravid Mound. It is a small mountain basically resembling an egg balanced on its narrow end, which dominates the surrounding landscape. The top of the mountain is the open caldera of a volcano, containing a strange mass of roiling biological fluids. The Midwives strongly control access to the area around the mound and do anything they can to ease the seismic activity within the volcano. They hope their presence will cause an easy birth and allow them to be elevated to the new high priests and priestesses of the god when it is eventually born.
I think that they don't understand that they're summoning Cthulhu himself, and that he's not going to be like, oh yeah, you guys can join me. No, he's going to kill everyone. Like, that's just... He's not looking for allies.
Yeah. Alright, so I said that was the second largest city on the planet. Now we'll get to the largest city on Aucturn, called the Citadel of the Black. Located on the shores of the undulating sea, it is a massive building nearly a mile in height with a base covering dozens of acres made of stone, black iron, organic membranes, and shards of bone. I'll put a picture of what this place looks like in for you.
Yeah, this is not a happy place at all. Very reminiscent of Sauron's tower, except worse and scarier. This picture shows like literally a line of people in hooded brown cloaks who look like just stereotypical cult members walking through this like valley of bone and melted flesh and nastiness.
Grody-ness. Yeah.
Walking towards this gigantic black spire with like not inviting architecture. And even the ships are like spiny and dangerous looking, kind of matching the rest of the landscape where, I mean, I'm sure if they sat down, you would just lose them because they're camouflaged kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I were approaching this city, I would reconsider my choices and be like, do I really want to be here?
As an aside, I actually really like this art piece. It's got a really interesting like color palette, and I feel like it's kind of like when I think of like dark fantasy from the 80s or something, just kind of with the colors and the artistic style. It's kind of a departure from a lot of the other stuff in Starfinder, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think 80s dark fantasy is like the exact way to describe kind of everything in this.
Yeah. No, it's fun. In the city itself, 153,130 people live here, 45% of which are humans, 14% of which are Orocorans, which, if you remember, those native mosquito guys who are only like semi-sentient. 11% are Yusoki, and the last 30% are just assorted other people. Despite the sizable population, the immense size of the building and surrounding smaller structures means that residents can sometimes go days without seeing another person if they are in a secluded enough part of the tower. This could be because the tower exists in multiple planes of existence, or it is simply larger on the outside, or on the inside, than it appears on the outside.
Is that like it does exist in multiple planes, or
Who
who's
knows?
to say?
It's got so many mysteries. Who's to say?
Yeah. This just has like horror story written all over it.
Yeah.
Especially because you said that 14% of the population are the blood-sucking giant mosquitoes.
Yeah.
That's a sizable number.
Of 153,000? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they're nice. Who's to say? The ruler of this citadel is Karsai the King, the immortal high priest of Nyarlathotep, the outer god sometimes referred to as the Crawling Chaos, who is a outer god of dangerous secrets and conspiracies, and who strives to bring down the achievements of mortals. He hastens the death of heads of state and government reformers in the hope of moving all civilization towards anarchy. Interestingly, as an aside, this outer god was brought up by H.P. Lovecraft.
Huh. Yeah, this is just like a planet of red flags.
Yeah.
Basically, just its only goal is the destruction of life in the galaxy through their own means, kind of deal.
I wouldn't say destruction of life, because it's more he wants anarchy and like basically regression is kind of what I get. And I mean, he's literally called the Crawling Chaos, so he's like looking for chaos, anarchy, regression from like I don't know, like technological advancement, cooperation, and stuff.
Well, he's just trying to get everyone to set off their nukes.
Yeah,
and there'll be a bunch of Eoxes.
He would love Fallout. Karsai the King, he makes various appearances and speeches, all of which drive the cultists of the Spire into a frenzy, and which are also broadcast around the Pact Worlds, sometimes on more legitimate can channels, sometimes on more, like, piratey networks. His secret police, called the High Stalkers, are little more than government-sanctioned serial killers.
Damn. I mean, when you think of the secret police, they are already kind of government-sanctioned killers, but these are specified as serial killers.
Yeah, they take pride in that shit. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you all for joining us this week. You can find us at Instagram underscore or Instagram at drifthappens_ASP, and yeah, that's all we got.
There are 2 settlements, and they're both spooky, and this place is a shithole. Don't go here. Have a nice day.
Psych! Joey, it's story time. Are you ready to buckle the fuck in?
Oh, yeah, because what we've already heard isn't scary enough.
All right. Long ago, there were 2 half-sibling gods. Du Brawl was the son of the spirit wolf Thrawn and an unknown mother, and Shalyn, was the daughter of Thrawn and a goddess of love. The pair of half-siblings shared a love of the arts, beauty, love, and music, and existed as minor sibling deities, and were often worshipped together at the same temples. At some point, they argued for reasons lost to time, and the brother Du Brawl abandoned their home and left reality for the dark places between the planes, referred to as the Dark Tapestry. There he was possessed and corrupted by a powerful alien being, which created him anew as the twisted and malevolent Zon-Kuthon. The god Zon-Kuthon, also known as the Prince of Pain, is the god of darkness, envy, loss, and pain. Many of his worshippers are sadists and masochists, who only felt close to divinity by bringing pain into the world. You tracking so far?
This is a bad guy god.
A hot take. Meanwhile, on the planet of Aucturn, a struggle, overlooked by much of the Pact Worlds, had been raging for ages. The gravid mound was indeed the egg of an outer god, which the midwives had been trying to unsuccessfully hatch for thousands of years. Karsai the king stole divine power from the embryotic entity, unnaturally prolonging his own life and performing unholy miracles to maintain his control in the name of his eldritch master, Nyarlathotep. While the midwives could not defeat Karsai, they were able to keep the egg stable enough to still be viable.
So he stole some power from an unknown being. The midwives aren't happy about it.
Yep. They're trying to keep they want the egg to hatch, but him's basically siphoning power from the egg is keeping it from hatching.
Huh. So are these two settlements basically at war with each other?
Yep, basically. But most of the Pack Worlds didn't know because it was all like secret cultist shit going down.
And most of the Pack Worlds probably doesn't want to know because who the hell wants to go there anyway?
Exactly. So the midwives' prayers and chants were answered in an unexpected way. The goddess Shelyn, who emerged to challenge Nyarlathotep to free the baby god gestating in the egg. The sister of the half-siblings, Shelyn, had spent millennia searching for a way to bring back her brother Dobral, and in the process had learned the truth about Aucturn. She sought to free the new god there, sensing strange beauty within it and resenting its captivity.
So this is actually a massive war involving gods on this little ball of shit.
Yep. This literal dung beetle ball.
Which means that maybe the god that's in the egg, he might not be a bad guy.
Yeah, we'll see. For the first time in an age, there was a battle amongst the gods, this time in the yellow skies above Aucturn. Shelyn wielded her famed glaive, the Whisperer of Souls, against one of Nyarlathotep's forms, a seemingly humanoid in an old model spacesuit, which upon closer inspection is a headless helmet filled with countless writhing tentacles. During the battle, Shelyn began to falter, and her glaive clattered to the planet's surface, and Nyarlathotep began to release a killing blow upon her, and as he did so, Shelyn cried out for her long-lost brother, Dobral.
Did Dobral answer?
Somehow her plea reached him, and Zon Kuthon appeared, taking the killing blow meant for Shelyn on himself. To save her brother, Shelyn merged their two spirits into one, creating a greater god by the name now known as Zon Shelyn. Zon Shelyn is much stronger than the two parts, and raised up the glaive and smote Nyarlathotep from this reality, also causing Karsai the king to disappear with the defeat of his god.
So now that the king who has been siphoning off the energies of the egg gone, the egg is now at its full power.
Karsai's power now flowed into the egg of the gravid mound, finally giving it the strength to hatch. Aucturn, the planet, shattered into millions of pieces. Those who didn't evacuate while the gods were dueling were killed instantly.
But we're talking about a planet here. It's still a planet.
Yeah.
Is it still a planet?
It got Alderaan.
Okay, so yeah, I guess this actually is going to be a short episode. You can't go here anymore.
So the newborn god is referred to as the newborn, and it is an outer god, looked to as a herald of a new cosmic era. Worshippers seek to embrace the void between the stars, purge the old ways, and seek truth in delirium. It is unclear if the newborn is even aware that it is being worshipped, or that it has been born at all, and only time will tell what can become of it. The midwives who ushered in the newborn were present at the birth, and have been individually uplifted as powerful eldritch entities, empowered to serve the newborn. As for Zon Shelyn, they are also a new deity, interpreted as the divine power behind using art to process and express intense emotions, pain, and suffering.
Huh. So So we got a new god on the block who's, I guess he's a progressive. You know, he wants to make some changes to the...
I don't know if but is he even aware that he wants to make some changes? Or his worshippers are just like, yeah, that's what this guy's going to be.
Maybe he'll do it on accident.
And then there's also a new deity, which is the fusion of those two sibling deities.
Who is just the deity of art through pain.
Yeah, using art to process and express intense emotions such as pain and suffering. So, kind of interesting.
Yeah, still not exactly a happy god, probably, but...
Not actively evil.
Yeah.
Like Zon-Kuthon was.
Aucturn seems to have balanced itself out.
By getting Zoded. So, you might expect that there were some side effects from this.
Well, planetary explosions do often cause issues to its neighbors.
Yes. When the newborn arrived, it let out a psychic scream, much like a baby taking its first breath would. This did everything from spawn hideous miracles into reality to push the debris of Aucturn even further away. The resonance affected the entire Pact World system. Many experienced bizarre visions and dreams of Aucturn cracking, dreams of 13 human figures transforming into twisted monstrosities, or dreamed of a darkly beautiful god swinging a glaive of rainbow light at a formless void.
It's the gay glaive.
No.
And this is like pretty much all across the Pact World system, like from Eox to Absalom and...
Everyone's having bad jujus. There's also some other effects, and we're going to, in a second, touch on a bunch of the individual planets we've already talked about. Because, as you might recall throughout the series, I've been like, hey, something really big happened, but we can't talk about it yet. Yeah, this was the really big thing that impacted a lot of planets. But we had to do this episode. Because I couldn't spoil the big surprise for the birthday boy.
Yeah, and here I was thinking that, you know, we had a planet to talk about. And I guess we did, at some point, have a planet to talk about, but that planet is now just an asteroid field.
Very much. And that's a good point. The edge of the Pact Worlds, which is kind of referred to as a region as called the Gelid Edge, is now filled with debris from Aucturn. This debris, many find to be valuable, including worshippers of the newborn. So there's various settlements and like mining ventures springing up trying to get like parts of this. But yeah.
So Aucturn went supernova, exploded in a psionic wave of despair, affecting all creatures.
I wouldn't say despair. It's a birth. It's like think of a baby at the hospitals giving its first scream. It's just that the first scream was very powerful. Also, like a couple 100,000 people died when the planet exploded, but we're not going to worry about that. Most were cultists.
Well, they didn't get out when they could. Well, they probably didn't know it was coming, so I can't really fault them that much.
They could see the gods fighting above their planet, and I think that would be my cue to start running for a spaceship to get the fuck out of Dodge. But I guess everyone doesn't have access to a spaceship.
Also, some people are probably just like, wow, let's watch the fireworks.
Yeah, they're sure that, like, this shit's lit. All right. So let's talk about some of the effects on the Pact Worlds. Start with Absalom Station. After the hatching had commenced, one of the midwives, named Amnika, traveled to Absalom Station to use the power of the Star Zone to free the newborn from its, and I'm going to say a word that they fucking wrote in their book. It is the most disgusting word I have ever heard, and these fuckers at Paizo will have to reckon with me one day. She went to Absalom Station to use the power of the Star Zone to free the newborn from its planet Senta.
Oh, they made a pun out of it, but still, I
don't like it.
I don't like it at all. It's moist planet Senta.
Yep, which is basically, if the gravid mound was the egg, the rest of the planet was essentially its like womb/placenta, so, or planet Senta. But yeah, vibes are bad.
All the survivors from Aucturn were just like, damn, that's where we were living? Ew.
No. While she was doing that, kind of hijacking that power briefly, power on the station stuttered during this usage, and many random citizens were pulled into the liminal space of the ghost levels as they briefly manifested in more spaces than normal. Do you remember the ghost levels from...
Yeah, just the spooky, we don't really know what's happening here, but we're not going to fuck with it because the station runs.
Yep, and that was actually one of the playtest mini adventures for Starfinder 2E, was you and your party were off doing some shit, and then suddenly find yourself in the ghost levels. And that's because they were being... that this midwife was being sneaky on Absalom Station. Other than that, Absalom Station has experienced a lot of the strange visions and other weird juju that has permeated the rest of the system.
Okay. I mean, that playtest, that is a fun idea. Just kind of the psionic scream, and then you got transported to the back rooms kind of deal.
Yep. Yeah, it was fun. I played some of it, and it was a good time. All right. Now we're going to go to Eox. The population of Eox had little effect from the birth of the newborn. The psychic waves did crash into the unshielded wastes of the planet, irreversibly changing and warping some of the undead wandering around out there. So that's mainly those mindless hordes. However, the psychic wave also caused the awakening of the undead titan, the insatiable Eclipse, and opened his tomb door under the city of Mirthal. You recall we talked about him.
Yeah, one of the scariest people that we've discussed in our podcast history so far. Good to know that he is now awake and probably pretty pissed.
I think, until told otherwise, we're still going to assume that he's having a beer and watching his Saturday morning cartoons in his bad guy lair.
Yep, we'll just hope
because anything else is scary. As for Akaton, Akaton for once appears to have dodged the negative effects of something happening. Despite being a dusty shithole, other than people having weird visions and stuff, there's not really anything that appears directly correlated to this. So, dubs for Akaton.
The psionic wave was rolling through, looked at Akaton and is like, it's already bad enough there. I'm not going to make it worse.
Yeah. Some mercy was shown. Now we're getting to Triaxis. You'd recall I told you something big happened to Triaxis during that episode, but I couldn't tell you about it yet.
I imagine this is the big thing that happened to Triaxis.
At the time of the birth of the newborn, Triaxis was at the height of its winter, close in orbit to Aucturn. The psychic energy smacked into the planet, flinging it towards the sun. Triaxis is now Triaxis is now prematurely in its summer, with snow and ice melted, and the natural systems of the planet out of order, in a summer which will last for centuries. Hanging above the planet is a new moon, a sizable chunk of Aucturn which was stopped from slamming into Triaxis by some unknown magical barrier. This moon is being referred to as Aucturna, and is considered holy to behold by the newborn's followers.
I mean, is there any difference between this particular chunk of rock and any other chunk of rock that got flung across the system, aside from the fact that it did not crash into a planet?
Yeah, instead of Alderaning Triaxis, some sort of magic stopped it, and now it's just hanging out in its orbit, like its other moon.
Is there anything, built up on this yet, or...
I don't think any... I think this is all very new, and people haven't gone to poke around on it too much. I would imagine there's probably already grifters trying to sell things to, the new worshippers to the newborn there.
Yeah, anyone want
pilgrims and whatnot.
Chunk of placenta I got from this planet?
Disgusting. Planet Senta, Joey, not placenta.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, fucking Triaxis got fucking yeeted across the solar system, and is now somehow still in its orbit, but at the wrong end of it.
Yeah, in a culture and just a system where each season lasts for centuries, like literal centuries, the fact that you just go from summer one day or winter one day to summer the next day, I'm sure that threw a lot of people out of whack.
Yeah, well, and all the natural systems, too. Like, nothing gradually thawed out or anything. Like, think of all the weird hibernating bullshit that comes out only during the summer, and all of a sudden, it's all coming out. Well, snow's still melting, the ground's, a bunch of stuff's rotting. It's a fucking shit show.
Yeah, all of the winter animals are still awake, and they're just like, hang on, it got real hot all of a sudden, and all the summer animals just woke up being like, hey, my nap got interrupted.
Yeah, I feel like I only got a century's worth of sleep. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's got to be crazy for just like the wilderness going out, and you're going to see essentially polar bears and black bears fighting each other when usually they don't meet.
Yeah. They're just like, what the fuck? Moving away from Triaxis, we're going to talk about Bretheta and its moons, where nothing major has been noted other than the visions I'm talking about are kind of like stereotypical across all the systems, or all the planets in the system. But on Bretheta, there has been a sizable uptick in rumors of supernatural occurrences since the birth of the newborn.
Well, it's because Bretheta is the one that has like all the kind of psychic floating jellyfish that everyone's really cool with.
No,
right?
That's Leovara. That's Leovara. Yeah,
its sister moon planet.
Yeah, Bretheta's the more built-up one, where the Barathus are originally from.
Right. And the Barathu are a very psychic species, so this probably hit them kind of hard.
But yeah, some spooky shit's going on, and it's not really been substantiated, but there are rumors.
All right. Well, the death of a planet does have far-flung effects, I suppose.
Yeah. So now we'll go to Castrovel. On Castrovel, the newborn psychic cries briefly disrupted service of Castrovel's psychic infosphere. You might recall that basically their internet got changed to being like something that is actually a psychic network, so that you either use that cute little creature that sits on your shoulder or your innate psychic abilities to just like literally tap in and surf the web. Turns out a big psychic stream from a baby god being born will disrupt the network for a little bit. On the planet, many Lashuntas and Formians were particularly afflicted by disconcerting visions. So we talked about there's kind of just visions going on. The vibes are especially bad on Castrovel. Also, we talked about this, a strange ooze on their moon of Elendray awoke, yeeted itself into the jungles of Ukalam, and has been dubbed the Terror, and has given rise to those mindless, sludge-trailing creatures.
So this is where the War on Terror originated.
Mm-hmm.
And with Castrovel, it's kind of the equivalent of having their entire society based on electronics and internet, and then getting a massive solar flare that just kind of knocks everything out for a little bit. Which I'm sure will never happen to us. Nothing to worry about there.
Yeah. But yeah, so bad vibes on Castrovel. But over on Abalon, they appear to have endured the birth of the newborn without really any notable incident, and that includes being the only planet untouched by any psychic visions.
Well, that's because Abalon is mostly just constructs, right?
Mostly, but even, I mean, so think about it, like their cities will have like 160 million people in it or something, and like 15% of those are humans. That's still a fuck ton of humans, but they weren't getting visions. Compared to Absalom Station, which is like a couple million, and they're getting visions.
Must have been all that 5G radiation from all their internet and technology on Avalon.
Let's keep it away, that bullshit. Okay, now we're going to talk about Leovara. The psychic wave caused by the birth of the newborn caused the dreamers to briefly awaken from their dreamlike state. Enraged, they smashed through the protective walls of Roselight, attacking tourists and researchers, and then disappeared down into the deeper layers of Leovara. At this point, the protective shield around Hallis, home of the halogens, also failed.
The poor light bulbs that had no protection.
Yep.
So is that city pretty much just wiped out from losing its protective shield, or what kind of happened with them?
No, I think they were able to get stuff back online. It was more like minor incidents where basically like wildlife attacked and they had to deal with it. But yeah, really concerning because that's something the Dreamers absolutely would never do before. So
luckily they were able to just turn it off, turn it back on. Hopefully.
Well, that's on Hallis. Well, they left the shield off, remember? That's why we're able to go visit them now.
Oh, true. See, everything that we've discussed, now I'm just like mixing it all up because now I'm understanding why everything happened, but it's all happened in the past, but we talked about it like it didn't happen. I'm confused.
No, I dropped lots of like, I'll tell you about this in the future for many episodes. All right, heading over to Verces. Immediately prior to the newborn's birth, large deposits of a rare ice element called selenium, harvested for its healing properties, began evaporating as entire deposits just suddenly turned into steam and went into the atmosphere. This shifted the glacial landscape, unearthing some monsters who had been happily hibernating but were no longer.
And that has to do with the god Shelyn kind of disappearing from existence and turning into something else.
I'm glad you caught that. Yeah, that is the exact same spelling, and I don't know much about it, but it does appear that they were connected at some point. But
so she's lost her marbles.
God damn it, I don't think it's marble. It's a rare ice element that no longer exists on Earthseas. But yeah, so the birth of two gods, really, not just the newborn. Meanwhile, over on the Adari, the destruction of the planet Aucturn swung the vote of the Doyenate in favor of leaving the Pact Worlds. The ship will take years to properly prepare, as the intention is for it to travel far and wide in search of the new permanent Kasathan homeworld. The psychic wave has also caused odd overgrowth in the ship's crops, making many afraid to eat them.
So the Adari have, well, yeah, no, yeah?
The government's the Doyenate.
The Doyenate. The people are the Adari.
Kasathas.
Kasathas.
No, the Kasathas. Gotcha. The ship's the Adari. Yeah. You're struggling today.
Yeah. Well, that's because we're basically doing a final exam that I didn't study for, because now we're just pulling out every single thing that we've talked about over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of it.
But yeah, they basically took one look at that shit and were like, oh, yep, that flips my vote. Time to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, it's like, okay, things have changed. I don't trust being anywhere in this system anymore, because who the hell knows what just happened and what kind of further effects there are going to be from this happening. So let's get out of Dodge.
Yep. So that's still going to take a while for that to actually happen, but they have voted to do that and are getting the ship underway. In the diaspora, across the region, the psychic wave fried various shields and electronic systems, and was the cause for the final breakdown of the river between. You might recall that the fancy space river that you were bamboozled by.
Didn't dry up, but it stopped.
Because of this. A mysterious asteroid with various locked doors that have never been opened, which has long been, a treasure hunter goal. It's named Threshold Enigma. It had its first door spontaneously click open.
I imagine this is going to be one of our campaign ideas that we talk about. Obviously, treasure hunting is always fun, but yeah, it's weird that you didn't talk about this particular asteroid having closed doors. I don't think.
Yeah, I didn't mention it.
Okay, good. So I'm like, I think I would have remembered that one. But that's super cool that there's basically the equivalent of like a lost vault from one of the two destroyed planets has now been opened by this psychic energy. So makes me wonder if there's like a connection between the newborn god and what they were doing in that particular area of the planet, or if there's just such a powerful psychic thing that that's all it needed to unlock.
Mm-hmm. All right, so as for Aposte was the closest planet to Aucturn and should have been damaged or even destroyed by the psychic wave, but they weren't. Instead, a barrier appeared around the planet, dispersing the effects. Known as Zizarer's Triumph, you might recall that's one of the names of the Void Elf houses, this shield was the result of centuries of research and preparation by House Zizarer. Ships outside the shield around the planet and in nearby space were disintegrated or twisted and warped and filled with mindless undead.
Now I wonder if they developed this shield just in case the sun went supernova and it was a protection from something like that, or if they had foreknowledge of a particular psychic wave from the birth of the newborn and that kind of stuff happening. Did they know this was coming, or were they just preparing something for just to have a big planetary shield?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I do remind you, what do the Asrenian elves like to consort with?
They do like devils and demons and all sorts of bad guys. It is a planet of cultists.
Yeah. So yeah, if they had a particular family demon who had some insight into something that could happen, and maybe gave them a little heads up, maybe that's what prompted them to build this thing.
You gotta imagine the people living, 200 years before this happened, but 400 years after they started, they're just like, this is all bullshit, man.
What are we doing this for? The last place would be the sun in the burning archipelago. Paizo didn't mention anything specific regarding the burning archipelago and the surrounds. I believe it's going to be kind of the similar situation where people there are having spooky visions and just kind of weird vibes, but nothing catastrophic happened. They're as far away as they could get in the system from Aucturn.
Yeah, and with how much, radiation is being pumped out by the fact that they are inside of the sun, I'm sure that cut up the psionic waves a little bit. I don't really understand how the things intermingle in the Starfinder universe, but
yeah, maybe it helps.
There is a lot of radiation close to a star. I know that much.
That is true. But yeah, that's kind of the update on the Pact Worlds. I think we got to resolve a lot of the little tantalizing tidbits, and I'll tell you in the futures I had. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I didn't really build too many specific campaign ideas for Aucturn, but we can certainly talk about what kind of this means for the system and the universe moving forward. It's not super common to have a new god be born, and we kind of have two.
Yeah, and there's just opportunities for new, basically new camps of cultists popping up in anywhere across the Pact World system. So any planet that you're on, you could toss into your campaign that there is now a cult camp outside of the city, or maybe inside of a city that's starting to cause havoc that the city once dealt with, or just someone you come across in your travels. Then typically when you come across cultists, they're not going to be helpful. They're very nearly always an enemy. So just a camp of these particular cultists is something you can fight.
Now, interestingly, you can be a follower of the newborn as a player character option. That is a choice you can make, and it is a legitimate god now. It's not kind of a vague abstract concept or something that is recognized as evil because its true intentions aren't known yet. So it's something that is kind of legitimized in the Pact Worlds right now.
Okay, so they're not going to be kill on sight. Well, they can be, I guess, if you want to.
Yeah, most places won't be. I think it depends on the settlement. I'm sure in Triaxis they're a little miffed about the whole newborn thing, fucking up their planetary cycle, but yeah.
And I'm sure that on Eox they wouldn't be happy about it either, because they're like, no, you have to worship the undead bone daddies and bone mommies.
Yeah, and they also don't like that the insatiable eclipse got woken up. That's going to be a point of contention for them.
Yeah, so there's a campaign idea, and this might be something that Paizo has to flesh out, but just starting to deal with, the Titan of Death, seeing kind of how that goes.
Yeah.
I think a fun campaign idea, has Paizo really discussed what is inside of that vault that popped open in the diaspora?
No, that's something that is still locked. I think it's called, I don't have the sheet in front of me, but it's like the Moon of 99 Doors or something like that. It's supposed to have a bunch of different vault doors, and how that's known is not clear, but the first one has been popped open by this. So yeah, there is some weirdness in there.
Yeah, it depends on what Paizo really wants to do with that going forward, but a campaign idea is you're in the diaspora, you're with your pirate gang, and you're either getting chased by pirates, or chasing pirates, or fighting the Vesk, or whoever. But, you could just kind of take a detour and be like, hey, this vault just got opened. Let's check out what's in there. There could be some real goodies in there. There could also be horrors beyond your comprehension. So, however you want to do that, you can do that. But I know that I think it would be fun to explore, because then you could also go into those classic dungeoneering things and then kind of do a real homebrew, put whatever you want in there. There could be a lot of constructs hidden in there, or kind of like how on the station, on Absalom Station, people got teleported into the ghost corridors. You can have creatures from any world that have been teleported into there. Yeah, it's like the psychic power, put anything you want, and then at the end you could find Cthulhu, you could find a really cool rifle, you could find nothing. That'd be a kind of a funny one you can do to your party. It's like, all right, you made it. The reward is the friends you made along the way.
It's just a note with a middle finger drawn on it in the middle of the room.
Somebody actually got there first, and you need to find out how.
Yeah. Outside of kind of the newborn and effects from that, obviously, it is a pretty big deal that Zon Shalen is a new god, too. So you'll see worshippers of that deity in most major settlements now, with kind of a focus on the arts and stuff. I don't want to say that it's giving, like, edgy late 2000s Tumblr vibes, where you, like have people self-harming and stuff like that, but it's definitely got a goth vibe to it.
No, it's got the emo vibe. The goths would be pissed if you got them confused.
Right. No, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. It is very emo kid instead of goth kid.
I remember the South Park episode where the goths and the emos got into it, all because of Twilight.
Yeah. So you'll find those guys around. That's, once again, a new deity that your character can also follow, kind of with some interesting flavor to that too. We'll talk more about Zon Shalen in the future, kind of when we cover more deities in more detail.
Yeah, and just kind of like starting with this episode and our discussion of like the war between the gods and the new one and everything, I kind of want to like retcon my characters that I have to be more deity focused than they currently are.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, because I think I picked a god because I'm like, oh, I like the bonuses this gives or something like that. But now I want to like really read into them and just kind of see like what their style and vibe is, and then see if I can integrate that into my characters. I'll have to do a discussion with my dungeon master if he'll let me change gods, just kind of as a pretend I followed this all along, but now I'm going to actually use it instead of it just being one of the things I chose at creation.
Well, don't jump too quickly on that, because not immediately in the future, but not super far away, probably in the next few months, I do plan to kind of have an episode or two where we start talking about more of the major deities involved in the Pact Worlds and Starfinder universe, so we can be a little more informed on those.
And then I can flex all of my deity knowledge on the people in our campaign and be like, well, I know about this god, and this is why I follow this god.
Yep. You flex all over him. It kind of brings us to the end of what I wanted to talk about. Do you have any other questions or comments about the former planet of Aucturn?
I mean, yeah, definitely going into this, I thought we were going to be talking about a planet, but it turns out that it was a flashback that we were talking about. And then we had the this is now moment of, oh, that's a lot of shit that happened. It was really cool to finally go through and discuss like all the tidbits that you gave me of like, oh, hey, something crazy happened, but I'm not going to tell you why it happened, but it's just like this now. Like,
yep.
Okay, boss.
Yes, the blue balls have been relieved.
Yeah, but I think it's a really cool story. Interesting that, we have the birth of two new gods and how it affected nearly every planet in the Pact Worlds in major or minor ways. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can start throwing into campaigns that kind of reference this happening as well to kind of spice things up, put some new cults in there.
Yeah, I also thought it was pretty ballsy of Paizo to do that, because they that's a significant change to their setting. Because Aucturn was a normal planet, or not quote unquote normal, but it was like a existing planet that was around for all of First Edition, and with the launch of Second Edition was the birth of the newborn. So they took a little bit of a risk with that, I think, to just be like, hey, we're really going to change our setting. But I think it landed well.
Well, you heard it here first. Oh, shit. That's all for now. Well, you heard it here first, folks. It's a hot take that blowing up a planet is a ballsy move.
Now, what didn't land is the word Planet Senta.
Yeah.
Please retcon that out of my mind.
I don't know if we can retcon out of the mind, but please, if you're running a campaign, avoid that at all costs. I think Paizo took the rare L on this one.
All right, but other than musings about Planet Sentas, I do think we are good to wrap it up for this week. As a reminder, for real this time, you can find us on Instagram at drifthappens_ASP, where you can see the various art we talked about in this episode, any art from previous episodes you wanted to check out, or any announcements or other news associated with the channel. But other than that, we'll see you next Friday.
Yes, thank you everyone so much for listening this far, and I hope you have a wonderful day.